Hey everybody, this is TJR. Recently, someone forwarded an article to me. This article was published in the Houston Chronicle and was entitled "The Golden Age of Streaming is About to End." It's by Dwight Silverman. And I thought I would comment on this article. Now, if you haven't read it, the article basically states that initially we all got into streaming services as a low-cost alternative to cable TV. Now, I know for some people it's a supplement to cable, but for a lot of people it did provide this very low-cost alternative. Services like Netflix and Hulu would give an individual subscriber access to hundreds of TV shows and movies that would rotate and change as time went on for a very low price. And a lot of people just simply cut their cable subscription because this was enough. And cable TV subscriptions have been dropping continuously over the years as the power of streaming continues to grow. What the article then goes on to state is that now all of these different networks and cable providers and cable networks all want a piece of the streaming pie. And so they're starting their own streaming services. Many have already done this, of course. Back in October 2017, when CBS started their new all-access streaming service, I signed up for the free trial just very briefly. I just wanted to take a quick look at the new Star Trek series, and then I immediately canceled. And I made a video, and it was entitled, "Why I Am Canceling CBS All Access and Why You Should Too." Now, in these videos, I discussed my opinion that CBS was basically using Star Trek Fandom, of which I am one of, as leverage to prop up what I felt was an otherwise useless streaming service. With the exception of the new Star Trek series, the rest of the service was primarily just old TV shows that CBS Media had access to, the best of which could already be found on services like Netflix and other already established streaming services that offered a better value for their monthly subscription price. CBS was asking $5.99 a month to watch their content with commercials and $9.99 a month for the privilege to watch their shows without commercials. And yes, I felt that was pretty audacious to actually charge to watch programming with commercials. And the reason why I made this video and the reason why I said please don't subscribe to this service was because it was basically going to just telegraph a message to every other TV network to do the same exact thing. A network like Fox TV could look at CBS and say, hey, look, all those Star Trek fans, they're willing to pay a monthly fee to see a new Star Trek show and even pay to see it with commercials. Why are we just satisfied with getting money only from commercials? A lot of these same Star Trek fans also like the Orville TV show, which if you've never seen it, it is Seth MacFarlane's love letter to Star Trek. And a lot of Star Trek fans do like this show. And they could say, hey, if they're willing to pay for this, then they should be willing to pay us too. Let's start our own streaming service. Let's make the Orville exclusive to our streaming service. Now, back in 2017, I was just dealing with the small microcosm that is Star Trek fandom. But this same pattern could be repeated over and over again. And before you know, I said all the other networks would start offering their own streaming services. And if you want their shows, you'll have to pony up the money for their service as well. So here we are, 2019, and yeah, this is already happening. We're already seeing signs of this. Now, you may be saying, but I can still watch a CBS-owned series like Twilight Zone and the original Star Trek on Netflix. Yes, for now you can. When streaming started, Netflix was king. They gained contracts for some of the most popular TV shows and movies of the past, and the rights to stream current motion picture hits as well. But eventually these contracts will expire. CBS will take back their classic shows. So will every other network that wants to get into the streaming game. Disney, whose streaming service is just around the corner, will eventually take back the Marvel and Star Wars movies that are currently being licensed, and they will license them no more. NBC is already planning its own streaming service, and any shows that they currently have licensed to either Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime will go with NBC once their contracts expire. BBC has been planning a streaming service as well, and that's why they didn't renew their contract for Doctor Who with Netflix. Doctor Who has a fan base as devoted to Star Trek, so yeah, they're not going to want anyone else have that. They're still waiting, of course, for the license to lap with Amazon, however. Cable networks like HBO and Showtime have seen the writing on the wall and have already made the jump to streaming. They're basically offering both. You can get their services through regular cable, or you can just pay for the individual streaming service. And eventually, other networks and even cable networks like AMC, TCM will either do their own thing or possibly team up with another service. So yes, this is all coming to pass. It's happening right now. Originally, streaming services like Netflix and Hulu offered a low-cost alternative to cable TV, giving their customers hundreds of TV shows and movies and original content for a fraction of the cost of cable. But with every content provider, TV network, cable network, now wanting a piece of the pie, and as they begin to move their content in-house, you will find yourself forced to subscribe to these other services as well if you want to continue watching shows like The Office or Star Trek. And all these monthly fees will add up, and before you know, we all will be back in the same place as we were with cable. In fact, we might even end up paying more. So yeah, it does kind of seem like the golden age of streaming might be coming to an end. But then again, maybe not. The first thing, of course, that I wonder about is what happens to all the original streaming services. Now, Hulu, I don't think has much to worry about. Sure, certain shows will leave when certain contracts expire, but Disney owns Hulu. Yes, I know Disney's doing their own streaming service, and from what I understand, the amount of content that they're going to offer as time goes on will be massive. But right now, there's a lot of content that Disney owns, especially with the 20th Century Fox deal now finished, that would probably find a better home on Hulu versus the Disney Plus streaming service. That's going to ensure Hulu just a gigantic amount of content. I don't think that Amazon will suffer too much, since their streaming service is more of a supplementary benefit that you get with Amazon Prime delivery. And Amazon, along with its original content, streams a lot of public domain stuff as well, kind of like Netflix did in the early days, if you remember those early days. The one player, however, that will be interesting to watch and see if they survive is, of course, the king of them all, and the original, and that's Netflix. Once everyone takes their properties that have been licensed to them, all they will have left is their original content, of which there is a lot. And I get the feeling that Netflix has been anticipating this for quite longer than anyone may have realized, and that's why they have put so much effort into pumping up their level of original programming over the last several years. But is it enough to keep the subscriber base that they have so carefully built up over the years once all the licensed properties go away? So yes, it does seem as though the prediction of that article that we will basically have this very fragmented media landscape where you've just got all these different networks and all these different cable networks offering their streaming services, and if you want just one thing, you're going to have to pony up the money for their monthly subscription service. And that doesn't feel like the best of situations for us, the consumer. But then it also doesn't mean that things won't get better. Now, here's a few things we might see. We might see that in order to entice customers, that internet host providers or cable companies or some other startup company starts organizing package streaming deals where the consumer gets a large number of streaming services for one very attractive price. And by attractive, I mean the ratio of content compared to that price. Now, if this happens, some of the smaller, more specialized streaming platforms, and I'm going to talk about them in a moment, might take a bit of a hit in exchange for being part of a larger package and the chance to get more audience as a result of being part of that larger package. And this brings me to part 2 of this topic. When I use the term specialized streaming, I refer to services like CuriosityStream. Now, CuriosityStream, if you've never heard of them, they are a streaming service that specializes in documentaries. CuriosityStream has a huge library of already previously made documentaries and newly created documentaries that are just exclusive to CuriosityStream. This is a very specialized streaming service that is very competitively priced. If you're into this sort of thing, literally, I think the cost is like $19.99 for an entire year. That's a really great bargain if you're into that. The parallel I'm drawing here is that in the same way that cable TV saw the birth of specialized channels like Turner Classic Movies and Cartoon Network, the Travel Channel, channels that would have been commercially impossible in the pre-cable TV broadcast age became possible with cable TV. So I do wonder if the growth of streaming could signal a second golden age wherein we see more competitively priced, specialized, and niche streaming services that cater to specific groups and tastes. Now already there are streaming services like the Criterion Channel, an offshoot of the Criterion Collection home video distribution that caters to hardcore cinephiles and movie aficionados like me. But that's just one niche audience. The possibilities for this type of thing are literally endless. For instance, you could have a gun owners enthusiast streaming service as easily as you could have a needlepoint enthusiast streaming service, which I'm a fan of both, by the way. Now, you may be saying to me, well, then it's just like cable TV, right? You know, we've got the All Sports Network, we've got the Travel Network, you know, blah, 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 blah. But here's why I feel like it could be a second golden age, because unlike broadcast and cable TV, streaming isn't, for the most part, dependent on commercial advertisers for revenue. They are instead dependent on revenue from subscribers. I think this is one of the main reasons why Netflix, their original programming, was such a godsend, was because the shows did not require ratings to survive. They just required a subscriber base. Now, Netflix can still cancel shows, so can Amazon Prime, so can Hulu, but they can create the kinds of shows that would have been impossible or unfeasible or commercially not viable with standard broadcast TV and even cable broadcast. To me, this business model, where it's subscriber-based versus commercial-based, has more integrity, since the content provider will be more interested in providing content that the viewers want versus what they can sell to advertisers. Now, like I said, I'm being positive here. I always try to be positive when I think about these things. I could be completely wrong. Things could go completely differently. But if everyone gets into the streaming game and broadcast and cable slowly becomes a thing of the past, then I hope it plays out to create more competition and more unique and specialized programming and a raising of the bar. This is TJR. Those are my thoughts. What do you think about this? Any theories of your own you'd like to share? Please leave a comment. I'll be curious to know what you have to say. If you like what I'm doing, please click subscribe, click like, and be sure to click notifications so you can know when I make new videos. And if you want to help me make more videos, please consider going to my Patreon page and becoming a patron supporter. I really am trying to build this channel up, and there's a lot of in-depth videos that I'd like to make, but time is my enemy. And if enough of you can just pledge the cost of a cup of coffee a month, it will make a huge difference and go a long way in helping me out. And even if you can't become a patron supporter, I still want to say thank you for being here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.